Thank you for joining us this morning for a brief 15 to 20-minute overview of Osprey Reach, an intelligent visual monitoring platform. I'm Paul Ritchie. I'm the COO of Osprey Informatics. I'm based in Calgary. We have offices in both Calgary and Houston. So there's a chat bar on the Zoom app. Please feel free to enter any questions that you have as we go through this presentation, and then we'll address them at the end. So we shouldn't be much more than 15 or 20 minutes, and then we can address any questions that come up. So where does Osprey Reach and our intelligent visual monitoring platform fit into the whole IoT digitization workplace that oil and gas companies are creating nowadays? We certainly have heard from our clients and industry professionals that visual is certainly the missing sensor. And through this presentation, I'll show you how, both with collaboration with other sensors and using our platform on its own, you can really optimize efficiencies at the well site and other facilities in all areas of upstream, downstream, and midstream oil and gas. So the great thing about visual, as opposed to just zeros and ones or SCADA data, which is imperative data to receive, is visual provides that very intuitive, insightful, and contextual view of that other data. More importantly, in many cases, it can allow you to validate remotely that SCADA or other system data that you're collecting without having to go to site. So what are intelligent visual sensors and what are the operational benefits? So to give you an example, 3 years ago, our systems were put into place almost 80% of the time by security and first response teams within oil and gas organizations. Now we're seeing almost a complete flip to our platform and systems being used from an operational perspective, where we're going in to operations, production, and such within industrial organizations. And then the security portion is just an underlying component that complements the operational usage of it. So a few key points in using visual sensors is, obviously, it allows you to manage more assets with fewer resources, both in people and in other platforms or systems. It has a phenomenal return on investment, and that return only grows as the scale of the deployments increase across all your distributed assets. And obviously, it creates greater productivity. There's a huge risk mitigation perspective on both safety and environmental as well. Sort of the 4 areas that we fit in with a multitude of use cases. As I mentioned, there's security, obviously safety, but environmental compliance and operational efficiencies are 2 of the largest use cases that we use. That our clients use on our platform. And I'll show you some of those use cases so you can see some real-world examples. So what is Osprey Reach? Osprey Reach is a platform that allows our clients to capture, analyze, and deliver visual data. So it creates a management by exception model. So at the edge, we have 2 hardware components. One could be existing cameras or new cameras that we put in, plus our edge device, which is called a Cloud Bridge. So what happens is that the camera is constantly capturing what's going on in the site, or the location, the wellhead, whatever it may be, and sending that to our Cloud Bridge, where we run some edge analytics, the initial layer that says either, no, this is something they don't want to see or to know about at this point, or yes, it is. It then subsequently sends it to the cloud, where our platform is based, and then we apply our AI-assisted computer vision to actually do a deep dive analytic on it and determine that, yes, this is something that someone wants to know right now, or wants to know in a report that may come out once or 4 times a day, or wants to see it when they log on to the platform next. So it creates a true enterprise product in the fact that you're capable of having one camera working within multiple different areas of the business, delivering different messages as those individuals see fit to manage by exception for their particular area of the business. As I mentioned, we can bring on brownfield or legacy cameras. We have a RESTful API that allows us to integrate into other software platforms, ERP systems, asset management platforms, and I'll show a little bit more of that. We also have the ability to read other sensor data and alert and corroborate that with imagery as well. So from a platform in Osprey Reach, there's multiple levels of technology that are engaged across the system. So whether it be the ability, if you have a larger facility and you also want someone in a control room or operators to be able to have it streaming live locally, where they can see the assets active all the time. For instance, in a downstream refined products terminal, you may want in your control room to be able to view it live and get the alerts to know when something is happening so you can pay attention to that live stream of that particular camera. We have broad camera support, even to the extent of bringing on non-digital or analog cameras and digitizing them through an encoder to enable analytics to be run on them. Part of our managed service is constant monitoring of the field equipment's health or status, where we're constantly pushing our integrity analytics to the edge to actually ensure that everything is operating properly. Then, of course, as I mentioned, our advanced AI and machine learning, our computer vision platform that sits in the cloud, and then, of course, the API for integration, which is becoming more and more important as more platforms come out there and more technology in this digital oil field. There's so many platforms for operators to use. We understand we're just one of them, and our API enables us to sit on another platform. For instance, there's multiple SCADA platforms where our imagery sits corresponding to the particular asset, so they've got the SCADA data as well as the visual data on a single platform. So I'll run through some use cases now, and by no means are these the limits to any capabilities we have, but they're very common use cases that clients apply or have driven our product to do. So obviously, with the ability to make people more efficient, and you're allowing those remote inspections of your distributed assets out in the field. So instead of an operator driving regularly to these sites, they're able to hourly or twice a day go live and look remotely off their phone, off their iPad, off their desktop to actually create an inspection or do a visual inspection of that asset. So that enables them to pay attention to the assets that need attention paid to them, as opposed to just going everywhere until they find something. We do a lot of hazardous area inspections, analyzing the floating roof levels on tanks to take the hazard out of constantly climbing up to, in this case, see what water levels or snow levels are on top of the tanks. Obviously, the snow is not a concern in the south, but certainly in northern Canada it is. We also have the ability, and for many clients, we're pushing daily or hourly reports of their assets to them. So they have the ability to see visually a report that comes to their email that they're capable of looking at quickly to see what all the assets, the status of them is, and then click through that into actually seeing the live image of that asset at that exact moment. From an environmental protection and compliance perspective, again, a multitude of applications and use cases. We do a lot of work around water reservoirs, water reserves, frac water tanks, and such, where, you know, in the instance of this particular image on the left where it says protect sensitive areas, we're actually part of the enablement of a water hauling company to get water from that reservoir. Excuse me. In the past, they were experiencing theft of the fresh water, and they were also experiencing dirty water being dumped in there, which caused them to have to a very expensive mitigation to rectify that problem. So in this the control center of this organization, they actually get alerted when a tanker truck pulls up to collect water. At that time, they go in and watch it live and validate that that truck should be there on our system. And then through another automation platform, they actually turn the pump on remotely. So this site is 100% unmanned, and they're enabling with our technologies and others the ability to validate that that vehicle should be there and should receive water. And it also applies to validating the ticket of the truck that was there. We're also monitoring, this is in northern Canada, this particular asset, and with the freeze and thaw, the water levels can rise and lower very quickly. So we also are alerting and analyzing the water levels to allow them to know when they need to go out and pump out, or if they need to go and fill it for any reason. We also use a lot of thermal cameras for various different means, whether it be flare stack monitoring, or in the case of the middle image, where we're actually monitoring a thermal injection wells for leaks in the injector. So again, this client did have an accident on this remote site, and part of their mitigation plan was to get alerting and being able to remotely shut down their wells should there be any leaks. In the case of this series of wells that we monitor with thermal cameras, we're detecting leaks in a liter or less of water. So we're able to do that. The other one is, you know, there's a lot of remote critical infrastructure that we have a multitude of use cases and applications around monitoring and inspecting that infrastructure. The case of the asset on the right, it's on the top of a very high mountain that's fairly inaccessible in the winter, and we've put multiple systems around this large pad to enable them to remotely inspect it and go weekly or when needed, as opposed to daily when they previously went there. So you're reducing a lot of risk for your employees, and you're also reducing carbon footprint by not driving as much. From a safety perspective, you know, our largest client is in the midstream space, and safety is paramount for them at the risers throughout their whole operation. And we're actually doing a multitude of things on this image on the left here, from alerting when people are in particular zones of that area. We're timing the trucks at that asset. So once they've been there for 35 minutes, the control center or the on-site operator is alerted that this particular truck has been there the maximum time we allow to move it. Subsequently, we have cameras pointing back from the risers as well, looking at how many trucks are there, and then their dispatch or their logistics team can actually redirect trucks to risers that may be 10 miles down the road, but they'll get through them 20 minutes faster. So they're trying to reduce non-productive time for the trucking companies and the E&P companies. Our systems are in place to inspect and monitor multitude of hazardous zones. In particular, we do a lot of compressor stations where we monitor and inspect and do some analytics on it, but also we can bring back the audio. So the neat part about that is you have a visual, but you have that audio component that allows most people to tell what's wrong better than looking at it is hearing it. So as of yet, we're not running audio analytics, but we're delivering raw audio data. And we also, as I mentioned with the API component, we're also integrated with remote or lone worker systems where we're validating their arrival and departure, or we're tied in with man down software, providing that visual component to an event that's occurring on the site. So their systems are alerting, ours are alerting, and they can corroborate arrivals and departures. One of the other things that a few of our clients have started to do in their finance departments is actually audit contractor invoices. So validate, historically, they'll go back and actually validate their entry and exit from the site, which is done quite simply because you can search by a time and date on our platform and see when they've arrived and when they've left. One particular client randomly audits, I think 10 sites or 12 sites a month, and they're saving anywhere between 20 and 35% a month in billings by doing that audit. From a client perspective, throughout North America, we have 47 unique clients that are from small producers to, Pembina Pipelines, which is one of the largest midstream companies in North America, to multinational corporations where we're doing business in Canada and the US. We do have clients in Australia as well. We have a few business partners in Canada and the US. In Canada, Spartan Controls, if you're familiar with them. What's really important to us too is we're an AWS Premier Oil and Gas partner. So we work strongly with AWS on the development of our technology, where their industry and platform professionals cooperate with our development team. We have three main investors in our organization. One being Evoke Innovations, whose LPs are Cenovus and Suncor in Canada. Our largest investor is Shell Tech Ventures out of Houston, and a smaller strategic is Intergen, which is a conglomerate of multiple oil and gas CEOs that are driving technology growth in the industry. So this is a list of our clients in the US. Previously it was Canada. In the US we have two business partners, ZI, which is a SCADA platform recently acquired by Emerson. We provide a lot of visual to their clients' SCADA. And Infrastructure Networks, which is a private LTE company that provides us in their areas with the private LTE coverage for our system and platform to operate. So that's it for the presentation. I'm just going to look and see if there's any questions now. Maybe I'm just going to get my colleague, maybe we'll unmute everyone and we can ask, if you have some questions you'd like to ask, we can answer them right away. Give us 1 second here. They're all still muted. Okay, as technology would have it, we aren't having much luck in doing that, unfortunately. Sorry about that. Please feel free to call. Oh, we do have people there. Please feel free to call or send me an email if you do have any questions, or feel free to ask it now.
Paul, can you hear me by chance?
Yes, I can.
Oh, cool. This is Mike Party with us. Hey, I guess.
Hi, Mike.
Example of that you guys have used some sort of, exception-based anomaly. Maybe not necessarily aligned with people showing up and being on site, maybe more equipment or something else.
So I can kind of hear you, keep cutting in and out, but I think what you're asking is anomalies outside of people arriving and leaving or exceptions?
Yep, yeah, exactly.
And you wanted some examples. So, you know, they could be, you know, one of the things we're working on right now with AWS is things like hard hat detection. Do they have PPE on? You know, we can do things like distinguish between types of vehicles. If there's some types that shouldn't be there, some that should. We can analyze levels of devices. We can understand if valves are open or closed. So there's really a multitude, and that's where the machine learning part comes in. So when clients bring us something that per se isn't on our shelf right now, we can gather the data to train the algorithms to detect those particular anomalies. So right now, you know, the majority of what we've perfected is around vehicles and people and eliminating the noise, i.e. snow, wind, rain, that causes a lot of false positives. So, you know, we as an organization certainly haven't come up with the majority of these use cases. These are clients coming to us either having the system already and wanting to do something different, or coming to us with a problem we can solve today and asking us to create something to solve these other problems. So we're very agile in that perspective, but certainly, you know, myself or one of the other team, if you want to reach out, we can deep dive into some of those in a demonstration of the platform where there's different things we're doing. It's easier to show than explain. So I hope that answers it or highlights it a bit.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, thank you all very much for joining us today. And like I said, please don't hesitate to reach out to myself or through our website. We'll get you connected with somebody close to you or in the area of expertise that you're looking for more information. Have a great day. Thanks again. Hope to hear from you soon. Bye now.